Happening right now, an emergency court hearing that could keep government food assistance going for 42 million of the nation's most vulnerable Americans.
Yeah, how's that
SNAP
going?
benefits are due to stop tomorrow over a lack of funding from the government shutdown, now in its 31st day. Right now, a federal judge in Rhode Island is looking into a lawsuit that claims the USDA, quote, needlessly plunged SNAP into crisis, even though there are appropriated funds available that could and must be used for those benefits.
The Agriculture Secretary denies that claim, saying those funds cannot be used. President Trump is now...
I'm sorry. I'm taking the jackass gambit on this one. I hope the SNAP funding gets cut. This shit-ass free. Nah, it's a lot of people who would, like, starve and stuff. It's like, dude, it's insane to me that the Trump administration is fighting to not use funds that have already been appropriated for keeping SNAP open during a government shutdown for that exact purpose. What the how does it benefit them at all? Donald Trump right now is literally tweeting about renovating his restroom in the White House to make it more gold. And meanwhile, today's the day a bunch of people aren't going to get their EBT cards refilled. Like, this does not benefit them. There is no world in which this benefits them. It's just political suicide. It's like it's a joke. No political strategy, just unlimited death. Thank God for that. Maybe. Look, we all know the American people will accept unlimited authoritarianism if it means no homeless people in the subways they take, you know? We all know that the American people have an infinite tolerance for illiberalism as long as it comes along with, like, clean roads or whatever. But there are like objective political losses here, you know? Again, it's like those 3 missed meals away from anarchy. I mean, what are we doing here, right? You'd think, if anything, the only places they've been willing to appropriate funds, it's ICE. It's overwhelmingly just ICE. That's the only people they care about keeping funded, because the incest baby white supremacist militia members that they've recruited to be a part of their brown shirt squad need money to pay off their child support. And wouldn't tolerate, working without pay. Even the military ranks second. Not that, by the way, anybody can afford to pay the military when the government shut down. Nothing and nobody out there with enough money to continue to pay military wages. Remember that one story of the one Trump donor who, like, donated $100 million? You know how little $100 million is for paying military wages? It's like 5 seconds. Poof. It's nothing. It's nothing. I don't understand why they're doing this. There's no... I mean, this to me is the clearest indication their only plan for 2026 is to just not have an election. I can't think of any other... I cannot think of anything else. So it's obvious that this is an ego thing. Trump doesn't want to fold, no matter what, which is why Trump has pushed for ending the filibuster, where he's met resistance from Senate Republicans, in order to get over this hurdle, you know? He does not want to have to cooperate with the Democrats. But there are plenty of Republicans who understand that this is a massive red line. There are entitlement programs that you just can't touch. Social Security, SNAP, these are and historically, by the way, Medicaid being one of them. But we're going to see those we're going to see those premiums rise. Medicaid and Medicare, I don't know. They better have one hell of a plan for stealing the election in 2026 and 2028. By the way, 9 out of 10 states that rely most for SNAP voted for Trump. Yeah, and of course, if you are hungry and starving and your 18 children need food and you relied on SNAP and you voted for Trump, life is a learning lesson. Life is a learning lesson, and you have fallen for it, you know? I'm not saying I'm happy that your kids are hungry or anything. I'm just saying that you failed them and it's your fault. Do you think they would still vote Trump? I think it's basically a statistical guarantee that they would, yeah. Because most of them would think the reason they don't have the money on their cards is because too much money got spent up giving free healthcare to illegals.
Calling for Republican senators to end the government shutdown by getting rid of the...
Did you see those insanely racist AI-generated welfare queen TikToks the far right's been flooding? Oh, you mean the one where, like, a woman named Shaniqua, it's like AI generated, and it's a lady named Shaniqua, and she's a fat black lady, and she's like, I have 8 kids, and I have no money. My baby daddies have given me no money. Trump, where is my money? And then the right-wingers will share this around and be like, suddenly I don't care that SNAP is being cut. That kind of, those ones.
Filibuster, an idea known as the nuclear option. It allows legislation to pass with just 51 votes.
The far right's literally wearing blackface for Halloween and posting it online. But listen, okay? They're not very bright. They don't understand what it's going to be like when the woke whiplash turns around. because this country's in for a reckoning the likes of which they can't imagine. All those photos they're posting of them in blackface, they're going to have to be sheepishly explaining at the, unemployment office in the future. All right, I'm telling you, I'm not joking. I'm not being facetious, and this isn't even a fantasy about vindictiveness. It's just how this works. You know. A bunch of race, it's vice signaling, right? It used to be, man, you could be really racist but be like a normal person otherwise. I know that sounds weird, but like in 1958 you could be a racist white guy in Vermont and you could be like, yep, my name's Jack, I work on cars and I'm racist, don't want my white daughter going out with no POC is the term they'll use in the future. Yes, sir. And like, apart from that, like, apart from being racist, you can be like normal and socially integrated and stuff. But nowadays you can't, because every like internet racist is like this freak 4chan vice signaling sociopath pedophile. So they're all like one-upping each other with displays of how little they care about themselves and each other. And like, there's no, like that aforementioned Jack, when racism officially ends with the signing of the Civil Rights Act, he can just kind of like fade into obscurity, keep his opinions to himself and go right on, and a lot of people will never even know. But now, internet keeps everything forever. All these jackasses posting blackface are going to be regretting it in the future. I bet a lot of them are even going to turn over a new leaf. They're going to be like, well, sorry, I just got really caught up in MAGA fever,
Votes instead of the current threshold of 6. CNN's Jeff Zeleny is here with more on this. Jeff, how are Republicans responding to the president's call to end the filibuster?
Well, Brianna and Boris, Republican leaders in the Senate and indeed the House are responding with a resistance to this idea to change the rules of the Senate. And one of the reasons is, of course, for the short term in the Trump administration, which the president is talking about, it may be seen as a good idea. But in the long term, when Republicans are not in control of the Senate in some future year, perhaps.
I'll remember who was a MAGA when things swing back around. You should, because in the future, we have to remember what they were like. There will be attempts to whitewash it, you know what I mean? Not just, oh, it wasn't about the racism, it was about the fear of immigration or America or whatever else. But we have to remember mostly how, like, obnoxious they were. That's what I'm going to remember. The racism's not that new. The open vice signaling and contempt for empirical reality is pretty special. But the obnoxiousness, I think, that's the main thing that I'm going to remember. They're so annoying. They're so whiny, That's what I'm going to remember. And we can't let people forget.
Would not be a good idea. So leaders of Congress are taking a longer term view at this, and again, resisting the idea of changing these Senate rules. Just a couple examples here of the reaction. One coming from the Utah Senator John Curtis, who wrote this on X earlier. He said, the filibuster forces us to find common ground. And power changes hands, but principles shouldn't. I'm firmly no on eliminating it. Of course, unclear how much common ground is actually being found here. But it was Speaker Mike Johnson, who, of course, is in the House of Representatives, that is not...
Did you see that article of a woman that dated only MAGA for a year? That article was like a horror story. That was like a genuinely terrifying... We're talking about the same... Wait, that's the article with the guy who like had a panic attack meltdown in a store, where he compared himself to Trump and said that he wishes he could like put all the white liberal women to hang, and then drank 13 iced coffees. Am I thinking of that one? No, I'm not. No one in chat's confirming that that's the one. Pretty big show of resistance to Donald Trump that Senate Republicans aren't willing to overturn the filibuster.
Pertain to the filibuster rules, he said that Democrats would take advantage of this in a future administration.
If the shoe was on the other foot, I don't think our team would like it. The Democrats, look, they've said what they would do. They would pack the Supreme Court. They would make Puerto Rico and D.C. states. They would ban firearms. They would do all sorts of things that would be very harmful for the country. And the safeguard in the Senate has always been the filibuster.
So again, Speaker Johnson...
Seems like a breakdown in the coalition. It's pretty obvious that the hope from the White House is that the Democrats simply never get in power again. Like, that seems to be what they're hoping for, right? To say we don't want to overexert our power here because when the Democrats come around, they're going to use it more aggressively, that's kind of a sign they don't think they have it on lock.
Does not have a say in the Senate filibuster, but Senate Majority Leader John Thune does. He has long been opposed to changing the rules of the Senate, and an aide in his office says he remains opposed to that. So we will see how much the president actually keeps pressing on this. But that has been the one thing that really distinguishes the Senate from the House. It requires 60 votes to get major legislation through. Again, it is intended to breed consensus. We have very few recent examples of that.
What consensus?
After being absent from the shutdown fight for days, President Trump is back here in Washington after an overseas trip, and he's not wasting any time getting back into the ring with Democrats or members of his own party, for that matter. Late last night, the president took to social media and called on Republicans to go nuclear and scrap the filibuster to bring the shutdown to an end. Let's go live now to CNN senior reporter Annie Grayer on Capitol Hill. Annie, how is the president's extraordinary demand here being received by Senate Republicans?
It's a really weird situation. Like, I do think the only reason they're not negotiating with Schumer and Jeffries is because they don't want to come across as weak, and it's just an ego thing for Trump. And if that's the case, they're in an unwinnable position because both sides of things, they're disappointing Trump, right? They're not getting rid of the filibuster, which Trump doesn't like, but they're also continuing this shutdown, which makes Trump look like he can't get a deal done. Like, it seems like there's no way out here. There's no way forward without either negotiating or ending the filibuster, which they don't want to do, which just makes Trump more upset.
Well, the top Republican in the Senate, Leader John Thune, has been against this idea, and I just got a statement from his spokesperson saying that Thune's position has remained unchanged even after the president's fresh demands on Senate Republicans. And that is because the 60-vote threshold in the Senate is really the bedrock of the institution. It's what requires both parties to have to work together on issues like government funding. Now, both parties have explored this idea of eliminating the filibuster at various points in time, but have always stopped short of doing it because while it's nice while you're in power to be able to pass your priorities more quickly, if you're ever in the minority, getting rid of the filibuster really eliminates any seat at the table that you may have. So take a listen to how Leader Thune expressed his opposition to this just a few weeks ago.
There's always pressure on the filibuster, sure. Yeah, I mean, there are folks out there who think that is the way we ought to do things around here, simple majority. But I can tell you that the filibuster through the years has been something that's been a bulwark against a lot of really bad things happening to the country.
Democrats would never do this even if Republicans start to do so. That is true. You know, if Republicans took down the filibuster, the first thing Democrats would do if they ever got power again would be to put it back up because they're massive pussies. Which makes me wonder, do you guys think somebody's telling them to do this? Like, oh, hello, River. What power center in the United States, what, I don't know, corporate PAC, what lobby, what politician, who is saying, like, this is a big enough push that Mike Johnson is weighing in on it, even though Mike Johnson is very MAGA aligned and also presides over the House, not the Senate. So what is encouraging them to do this? What's leading them to do this? You know, they can abuse this power and know the Democrats won't return in kind when they take power. They know the Democrats are weak. Maybe they realize having a non-functioning government is actually a bad thing, but removing the filibuster would actually make the government more functional right now. I don't really know what the interest is. I don't really understand why the Republicans wouldn't just do it, you know? It's not like the Democrats are going to punish them for it. I have to imagine AIPAC and the other MIC groups prefer to have more neocons in power. Maybe. There are probably still a lot of powerful people in government who are awaiting Trump's death and the return of neoconservatism, because Trump has really thrown a wrench in the works of how our economy functions, probably to the detriment of a lot of people.
So now the question is what Trump's demands are going to do to the beginnings of bipartisan negotiations that were starting to happen on Capitol Hill. Really throws a wrench into the beginnings of goodwill that was starting to develop between Senate Democrats and Republicans. But the Senate is not in session today.
Fucking what? Beginning of goodwill between... What the f*** talking about?
And the pressure to come to a deal to end this government shutdown is only mounting. The real pains of this shutdown are building. Federal workers continue to go without pay, and starting tomorrow, over 40 million Americans are going to lose their food assistance and start to go hungry. So the pressure is on, and the president getting involved with this demand doesn't seem like there is broad appetite among Senate Republicans, but shows that he understands that the pressure to act and create an end to this stalemate is only building, Pamela.
All right, Annie Grayer, thank you so much.
You mentioned the filibuster. This is fascinating because President Trump didn't just kind of tweet like 2 words. He put an entire long post up. This is just part of it. It's now time for the Republicans to play their Trump card and go for what is called the nuclear option, get rid of the filibuster and get rid of it now. This is something that the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, told me recently on this program. Most other Republicans, even Mike Johnson, who isn't in the Senate but has an opinion as Speaker of the House.
The Dem state AG suing to get back funding for SNAP has made the Dems look really good, TBH. Yeah, I know. I don't understand why they're doing this. It's politically disadvantageous. They're winning nothing right now. The Republicans are only losing on this. They're only losing. There's nobody is being swayed over to the right because of this.
Just said this morning he thinks that's a bad idea.
And how rare is that you're hearing from both Republican congressional leaders that they are not on the same page as Trump? And perhaps they'll hold the line on this one. This does feel to be like the one red line that Senate Republicans have, even when they have sort of complied with Donald Trump and his increasingly norms-breaking sort of actions over and over again. The filibuster seemed like it was the one sacrosanct thing.
Because it'll help them now, but as soon as Democrats retake the Senate, it's going to be a nightmare for Republicans.
Absolutely. I mean, look, we had sort of the mirror image of this debate when Senate Democrats controlled, right? That they were.
Yeah, God forbid Democrats take the Senate back and put forward their own version of Israel funding bills. Seriously, what do the Democrats do that Republicans don't like?
Now to another impact of the government shutdown, the planned freezing of payments to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, better known as SNAP. The program assists some 42 million people, 1 in every 8 Americans. The Department of Agriculture was set to run out of funds for SNAP today, which led to a surge at many local food banks. But a pair of court rulings yesterday appear to be keeping those benefits in place, ordering the Trump administration to continue the funding. Willie James Inman is traveling with the president in Florida and joins us with more. Willie, good morning.
Dana, good morning to you. Today marks just over 1 month since the start of the government shutdown, and now millions of Americans are feeling the impacts of the political stalemate.
This weekend, 2 federal judges ruling the Trump administration must use emergency funds to pay out some SNAP benefits for millions of Americans.
But it's only $6 billion in appropriated funds. That's not enough.
President Trump responding, saying he's instructed administration lawyers to ask the court to clarify how to legally fund SNAP as soon as possible. The president adding if he gets the appropriate direction from the courts, it would be his, quote, honor to fund the program.
When you talk about SNAP, you're talking about largely Democrats, but I'm president. I want to help everybody.
I wish his brain was just a little bit more melted so he could have said blacks. You know, if it was just a little bit more, just a micron more liquid than it is now, he would have said blacks, and it would be a funnier world.
Secretary of Agriculture claims the government cannot redirect roughly $5 billion in emergency funds.
But it is only allowed to flow if the underlying program is funded. It's called a contingency fund. And by law, contingency fund can only flow when the underlying fund is flowing.
Federal support for benefits expires on Saturday amid the ongoing government shutdown, and it's unclear when SNAP recipients will receive assistance. Jessica Levinson is a CBS News legal contributor.
But in both cases, we have judges either granting or leaning towards granting temporary restraining orders to force the Trump administration to pay people SNAP benefits.
With no apparent end to the shutdown in sight, President Trump is now calling on Republicans to use their Trump card and get rid of the filibuster. But a spokesperson for Senate Majority Leader John Thune says there would be no change in Senate procedures.
So prior, Trump either did not care about SNAP or thought that it was only like black Democrats who are on SNAP. Then somebody had a conversation with him and said, sir, 40 million people are on SNAP and a lot of them are Republicans. And he went, oh, okay. We need to get rid of the filibuster then, so we don't have to compromise with Schumer in order to get the funding bill through. And now he's being told that they're not going to do that. So why isn't he allowing the appropriated funds to flow to SNAP? I have no idea what they're doing, man. Genuinely, it's a clown show over there. I have no idea what their play-by-play is looking like. I have no idea.
Get rid of the filibuster, but a spokesperson for Senate Majority Leader John Thune says there would be no change in Senate procedures. Democrats want funding for Affordable Care Act tax credits, but Republicans want to open the government before discussions take place.
I think there's informal conversation taking place among some senators on the Republican side who apparently recognize the need to address the affordable health care crisis.
Oh yeah, speaking of the healthcare crisis. Okay, last thing on the ongoing state of the country. ACA premiums. Hey, who's seen their premium costs rise?
New this morning, Americans getting their first look at how much they will have to pay for health care coverage under Obamacare next year. For many, it could cost hundreds, if not thousands of dollars more. With us now, Tammy Luby, CNN senior writer. Her story on this is up right now on CNN.com. Tammy, always great to see you. What are you learning here? What's the price tag people are looking at?
Well, we now are getting a first look at what the actual premiums will be for those in the 30 states that shop on the Federal Exchange. Healthcare.
Yeah, can I share with you guys the AI summary? Because I don't think anything else could deliver this better or faster. Okay? Look at this, all right? ACA premium costs will likely increase for many enrollees, with some facing a double whammy of both higher benchmark plan prices, an average increase of 26% from insurers, and the expiration of enhanced premium tax credits. That's what the government shut down over. This could lead to an average increase of 114% in the amount individuals and families pay for their monthly premiums if enhanced tax credits are not extended. We're talking people paying like, so actually double, little more than double. I mean, we're talking people paying $600, $800, $1,000 a month.
.gov. Now, CMS and KFF released yesterday that overall premiums will go up 26%. That's what insurers, those are the rates insurers are charging. That's their increase. But because of the...
Totally normal, by the way, that the insurance companies on their own, without even the tax benefits expiring, are like, yeah, we're just going to get 26%. Why not? In 1 year.
Expiring federal subsidies, the actual amount that people will pay will be far more. So when folks go onto healthcare.gov now, they can look at their 2026 plans, and they're probably going to be pretty shocked at what they see.
When you say pretty shocked at what they see, and when we talk about the failure to extend the Obamacare subsidies, how much more roughly? And I know it depends on each plan and it depends on the individual, but what are we talking about here? If it's a 26% increase on overall premiums, they don't have the subsidies, which...
Here we go. I found a map from NBC. So this data is presupposing, because, okay, for those of you who don't live in America, our healthcare system is psychotic. It's incomprehensible. Nobody understands how it works. Nobody does. If anyone tells you they do, they're lying to you. All the numbers are made up. And everything varies so much, person to person, year to year. It's a nightmare, okay? So this map shows insurance premium increases for a family of four with an income of $130,000. It's not that much. These people would qualify previously for the healthcare insurance tax deductions. $130,000, that's what, $65,000 per parent? You know, okay, so you're both in your 40s or 50s, that's fine. You know, that's a reasonable income, all right? Estimates are based on a family with two 40-year-old parents with two children, 10 and 5 years old. The insurance plan used is the 2026 second lowest cost silver plan for essential health benefits. So this is just a silver plan, not a gold plan, okay? This is just a regular middle of the road, not a bronze plan, but middle of the road option, okay? So let's take a look. With enhancements and without enhancements. $11,000 a year, $23,000 a year. So with the tax benefits, $11,000 a year. What is that, 8-9% of your annual pre-tax income? Just for your health care. But now, oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. Look at Alaska. Without enhancements, $40,000 a year. Now, again, by the way, this doesn't make your healthcare free. This is just the premium for the healthcare plan, where you still have to pay an out-of-pocket cost, and then, even then, the insurance company only pays for a portion of the cost of your procedures up to a cap, after which you're out. You have to pay all of it yourself. $20,000, $30,000. Connecticut up to $33,000. Whoo! Yeah, you still got your co-pays, your deductibles. Oh, it's good. Idaho, only $18,800. Yeah, that's practically free. What about Washington? Where am I sitting? At the middle of the road, $23,400. Oh, this doesn't cover dental, by the way. Good luck with that shit. Wyoming, $41,819. Jesus Christ. Wait, so is this how much it's going up? If you were a family of four with a household income of $130,000 pre-tax, I assume, and you live in Wyoming, and you're using a regular middle-of-the-road healthcare plan, the amount that costs you could potentially jump from $11,000, which is around 8% of your pre-tax income, to, what did I say Vermont? Did I say Wyoming? We'll say Vermont, $43,600, could jump to about a third of your pre-tax income. Isn't that how most people have health insurance? This is people who have it through the ACA, which is tens of millions of Americans. A family of four earning around $130,000 could see their monthly premiums increase from around $920 to $1,900. Wow, it's doing the same thing that rent did between now and a decade ago.
In and of themselves, I thought we were...
I'm not American, but I assume if you're on the ACA, you're already low income. No, incorrect. Tons of people benefit from the ACA. But what we're talking about is the expiration of the ACA subsidies, the tax benefits, which you can benefit from if you make up to 4 times the federal poverty limit. You know, basically, if you're not upper middle class or higher, or in other words, you know, the people who need the tax credits the most. This, combined with snap cuts, is like artificially recreating the conditions of the Great Depression in a lab and unleashing it on the country. Yeah.
Estimating could cost people 30% increases.
Right. Well, the insurers are raising their rates by 30%, but actually, according to KFF, the amount people are paying could actually more than double. They're thinking that the premiums that people actually pay because of the expiring enhanced subsidies will go up 114%. And there really is no way to say what the average will be. You know, it could be hundreds, thousands, as you say, but people will actually, you know, people have been hearing about this for a long time, but many people until October did not actually know how much they were going to pay, but now those numbers are actually available on healthcare.gov. Window shopping opened late yesterday. And for those who live in states that run their own exchanges, they can go to their state exchanges. Many states have opened up window shopping, although not all. But open enrollment starts November 1st. So on Saturday, it'll all be evident.
It's just around the corner, just a few days away. And
I do partially blame the Democrats for this, of course. The Affordable Care Act was a massive bailout for insurance companies, essentially. Oh, yeah, everyone will get on your insurance programs, and oh, they'll be unaffordable? Well, that's okay. The government will cut the check, you know. We'll pay. Oh, well, the individual citizen will still have to pay an obscene amount for your shit-ass, ineffective health insurance. You know, your HMO where you have to wait a month for a referral, whatever, okay. But we'll pay the other, 60%.
Sounds like there'll be some serious sticker shock. I didn't ask the question well, but you gave me the answer I was looking for right there, Tammy, which is that people could see the cost doubling here.
Yes.
They will know
Some
shortly.
States have said almost tripling.
Staggering costs. All right, Tammy, thank you very much. With us now is Senator Chris Coons, a Democrat from Delaware. Senator, thanks so much for being with us. You hear that estimate where people can have their health care costs doubled. So as you sit here, some 30 days into the shutdown, the government's still not open. There's still not an extension of Obamacare subsidies.
To be fair, the subsidy works by requiring the insurance company to offer discounted plans before the subsidy. Yeah, but that's like even more insane, because that's like the government being like, yeah, every year we'll spend $1 trillion paying 60% of the obscene healthcare insurance premium rates that you offer to every citizen. But in exchange, you have to only charge up to $1 million a second and not a squadrillion dollars. And the insurance companies were like, I wanted a squadrillion. Fine.
So what has been gained in this shutdown?
So, John, this weekend on Saturday, millions of Americans will get their notices about the increase in their health insurance rates. When the tax credits that make the Affordable Care Act affordable expire for millions, they're going to be paying double for health insurance. I've already gotten calls from some folks who I know in other states. In my home state of Delaware, those notices go out in the next couple of days. I'm hopeful that at that point, Republicans.
This is like as big of a deal, if not more of a deal than the SNAP benefits being cut. Also, unfortunately, this was also more or less inevitable. Our current healthcare system is so inefficient, so bloated, and our debt is being racked up so quickly at a national level that at some point we were always going to have to reckon with this tumor. You know, the healthcare and services industry is the, proportionally, I believe, the #1 fastest growing major industry in America. For a significant number of states, it is the biggest industry. We used to build things in this country. It used to be railroads, iron, coal, whatever, you know, and now, in a significant number of states, the biggest industry and the only one still growing, the only big one still growing is healthcare management, administration, bureaucratic bloat. Like tumors, they're leeches on this country, you know? Oh yeah, that and data centers. Though that's more of a GDP thing. The healthcare industry actually does employ people.
Will realize this is a crisis, that American health care needs to be accessible and affordable health care, and they'll come to the table. Privately and recently publicly, some Republicans are saying they don't want to see health insurance costs double for millions of Americans. And
Really?
Frankly, John, this will impact every American. If we have millions more people getting their health care through the emergency room.
It's worth remembering, by the way, that this thing we're fighting over right here, the ACA insurance premium subsidies, this isn't like the SNAP benefit in that it is a consequence of the government being shut down. The Republicans are explicitly fighting to remove this benefit. This is what the government is shut down over. Do I want any tea? I would love some tea.
The wait times, which are already too long in the ERs in my state, will increase, and everyone's health insurance rates will go up as the number of people covered and getting preventive care goes down. Donald Trump ran on lowering our costs and making America healthy again. He's doing neither.
But again, as we're 28 plus days into the shutdown.
Incredible rhetoric, by the way. Like the right now, the Republicans are literally hitting the big red button that says kill everybody. And this is the most we're getting. No, yeah, there's no political benefit to this. Absolutely none. It's a suicidal act. This doesn't further their effort to end democracy in the US of A. This doesn't galvanize anyone against the Democrats.
What has that done right now to extend these Obamacare premiums?
Because the House has been out of session the entire time, because our president is out of the country, nothing. Republicans control.
I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that I feel like this is something that not even Hitler would have done. Not because Hitler wasn't evil enough to do it, but because it's really stupid, you know? I just, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some historical analog to this where Hitler was like, actually, as part of my glorious Nazi regime plan, I'm cutting off food rations for everyone. You. I don't know. I feel, if I'm remembering my history, I feel like for the most part, the brutal crackdowns were mostly concentrated against political enemies and minorities. And for the most part, he tried to make capitulations to the majority groups. In this case, it's literally like the you die button. I don't know. I don't know. Didn't he try to make everyone chicken farmers? I don't know about that. That sounds like something Mao would do. And that is very funny to me.
The House and the Senate and the White House, and they need to come to the table and negotiate about how we're going to deal with this healthcare crisis. What we've accomplished so far with this shutdown, John, is the focus on this being an imminent crisis for the American people.
Seriously, though, the fact that this isn't like a 5-alarm fire and isn't being capitalized on by Democrat media is insane. I know MSNBC is, and I know that CNN, NBC, ABC, so on, are all like completely captured. But still, you know, it's just such a layup. Like they should be running TV newspaper, everything ads where they say like, hey, did your insurance premiums go up? Thanks, Trump. That's the Trump effect, and put like a little cutout of him looking goofy, you know?
Air traffic controllers across the country were supposed to get paid today. Instead, they're getting this. Take a look at pay stubs showing $0 deposited to their bank accounts. The first full paycheck they've missed since the government shutdown began 28 days ago.
Now, as some airports are dealing with these staffing shortages, some travelers worry their own flights could be less safe.
I know that there was at least one crash out of here not too long ago, and there was an issue with the air traffic controllers then. And now that we have the government shutdown, I don't think that that's made it any better.
CNN's Pete Muntean is at Reagan National Airport, right outside of Washington.
I'm curious to see if Fox News is covering any of this. They post so much. Oh, God. Did you guys see the Jean-Pierre interview? Oh.
Funding for SNAP benefits could expire today for more than 1 million veterans. A federal judge ordered emergency funds to pay for SNAP yesterday, with President Trump saying...
Why are we resuming nuclear testing? Trump said he wanted to, but he thought the Pentagon manages nuclear testing and not the DOE. So I think he just said it. Nothing's going to happen.
Saying, quote, I do not want Americans to go hungry just because the radical Democrats refuse to do the right thing and reopen the government. Therefore, I have instructed our lawyers to ask the court to clarify how we can legally fund SNAP as soon as possible. Retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Jim Whaley is CEO of the veterans advocacy group Mission Roll Call. He joins us now. Lieutenant Colonel, thank you for joining us this morning. So what are you seeing on the ground there?
Is this the only context in which you want to talk about the SNAP benefits being lost? Ooh, rah, our veterans are on the street.